What's shaking? Here we are again. We are back, and today we're going all in with a self-mastery coach, former SiriusXM morning show host, who has used her own despair and hopelessness as the fertile ground for radical self-improvement and personal growth, and also just an amazing woman who I've gotten to know here and have shared the camera with, Andrea Lowell. What's shaking?
Oh my, Rick Jordan. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me on. I just cannot wait to see where this conversation goes and what the two of us will shake loose.
Me too. The last time we saw each other, we were in person, obviously seeing each other on David Meltzer's show, 2 Minute Drill, when we were filming for that. And
that's right. That was so much fun.
Yeah, that just released too a little bit ago. That was a blast.
Yeah.
What was so cool for me, and I could tell like where your morning show hostness. That's a fun word, hostness. Yeah.
Hostness with the mostness.
Yes. That's brilliant. Where it came in because we were talking, and it's the same thing, right? Because I mean, I try to be as much of me as possible in every aspect of it. But then when you get into this mode, and it's become better over time. So now it's like my podcast voice is like my everyday voice. It's almost become that because there's like all this energy, you know, but it was so cool because as soon as the cameras rolled, it was like, you became like this amazing, just like poised individual. I'm like, oh man, this is amazing.
There's definitely a flip that switches when I'm hosting a guest on a show, presenting, reading a teleprompter. You just kind of go into almost like newscaster mode, if that makes sense.
I get you.
And yeah, when I used to do it every day, all day, on SiriusXM, 3 hours a day, nonstop talk. Like, back in the day, there were no commercials. Like you had a 30-second break. You had to run to the bathroom, come back. You got so exhausted from being that performer all day that you would actually just kind of shut down when you got home. And so I'm still kind of in that mode though, like where I'll reserve my energy. And then as soon as the camera comes on, I'm like, hey everyone, welcome to the show.
There's something to that, and it's if I think back even to like Tony Robbins, right? I don't know if you go to the Netflix and watch and go to, did I say the Netflix? Did I seriously just say that? Did I say go to the Netflix, right? I make jokes. I'm like, I'm going to go look it up on the Google. That's just a joke that I'll use from now. But I think I just said the Netflix. Wow. When you look on Netflix, there's a show called, or a documentary about Tony Robbins called I'm Not Your Guru. And it's cool because you get to see his pre-stage routine. And one thing that he does, I didn't know this until watching his doc, is he'll jump on this small trampoline right before he goes on stage to get himself pumped up. But prior, he is seriously just like chilling before then, like going through the format of what he's going to talk about that day. It's not like super high energy. Now, I know you and I are people that are, and he generally is like super high energy all the time. But there is something for that, right? When you have to do these things. And this is we're giving life advice, by the way, right now. Right? Before you're doing a big thing or whatever, it's still you. But I'm rambling because I'm thinking, not rambling, but I'm monologuing. And what helped me, because I noticed too with you on the show, right? You were just gorgeous in your, I think it was an orange jumper, wasn't it, that you had on?
Red jumpsuit, baby.
That's it. Yeah, that's like your power thing. And it was so cool. And then I see you on Instagram and you're in pretty much what you're in right now. What are you more comfortable in? Or is it both, just depending on the moment?
That is such a good question. There are certain, I hate to say like a costume, but there's certain, things I put on or jewelry I put on or makeup that I do that really helps me get into character. So if I'm going on a show with you, David Meltzer, a bunch of other super successful people, I'm going to put on what makes me, bring out that boss babe kind of energy. And that's going to be my red power jumpsuit, bring my hair and makeup girl from my old, days on TV.
That's right.
And just feel like $1 million bucks.
Yeah, that's right.
I did. I can't risk it, Rick.
Yeah.
But truly, I am authentically me in any of those outfits.
Yeah.
Like that version you met, that is so authentically me. But, typically in day out, I might be in my workout leggings and a sports bra or like, a cut off tie-dye tank top. So it really just depends on where I'm going and how I need to feel.
That's cool. You called it a costume too. And my media coach, my very first media coach, because I did go through actual media training before I started doing all this big media. This was like 4 years, almost 5 years ago. And
right on.
He called it a costume. You know, and one of the things at that point I was going on as like an author, because that was one thing to get me on TV. Wrote a book, literally just wrote the book, which ended up being a good book, I think anyways, or a fun book. And that got me on TV, on lifestyle shows. You know, it wasn't like it wasn't what I do right now, you know, because I go on like CBS Money Talk, National, you know, now to talk about the Elon Musk deal and the cybersecurity and all those things. Different scenario, right? Rather than doing like a lifestyle segment. Yeah, so he's like, you got to wear a suit. You got to wear a suit with a bright tie. That's what you have to wear. That's your costume. I'm like, that's not me. And he's like, no, but it is you as an author. It's a costume what you need for right now. And I'm like, okay.
I would have been like, Rick, you know, in the multiverse, there's a version of you that is that suit wearing author. Just channel him.
Yeah, right on. You know, now now I go on, you know, I go on Bloomberg or whatever, and I'm wearing my black T-shirt and my black
because
jeans.
That's you.
Right
now
on.
It's like the Rick Jordan costume is the authentic Rick Jordan, which is, I knew I was going to see you today in a black T-shirt.
Yeah.
That's you to me. And I love it. You know, it's like, I don't have to try to dress a certain way to make anyone happy or try to fit in. Like, this is me. I'm unapologetic for it and I'm showing up. And if people love it, they love it. If they don't, bye.
Bingo. I love it.
Bingo.
This is so cool because I love where our conversation is going today. And I know everyone listening is going to pick up some huge tips because this is, you know, unapologetically authentic. You know, that's how you need to be and how you dress and how you show up to things. You know, that doesn't mean be a slob. Right. You know, it's not like
don't be disrespectful.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we were taking pitches on that TV program. Right. And these are real startups. Right. These are real startups that are looking for real money, real help from us as judges. And I was, as I saw them show up, there was a lot that were dressing or showing up energetically in a way that really didn't seem like them. You know, and it was funny because just this morning I saw a post from this dude named Brett. I can't remember what his company was, right? But then he was like, you know, he was going through all the individuals that were the judges on this episode. He's like, then there was Rick Jordan. He was the Simon Cowell for our pitch. but then he's like, met him outside of the studio, and he's just this huge softy, you know. And I'm like, but that's the thing. It's like both are me. I'm going to be direct and straight up to you because that's authentic for me, but I'm also going to support you in every possible way that I can.
That's right. It's like if we're in a position where we're being asked to critique a pitch, I'm going to show up as Andrea, you're going to show up as Rick, and we're going to critique that pitch.
Yeah.
But if we're just having a conversation about coffee or, you know, a beverage of your choice or dinner or sushi or something, I'm not going to be critiquing and being very, very kind of judgmental and discerning. I'm just going to be having a free flowing conversation. So it's like a time and a place. There's a time and a place, but they're all authentically us. And that's why you and we get picked to do things like that because people know that we're going to come as us and they trust us and they know that we're not going to phone it in and they actually respect our opinion and want our opinion. And I think that's the cool thing too. So a lot of people, when they're being inauthentic, they just want to mirror other successful people, or they say, oh, well, that person's doing that. Maybe I'll try what he's doing. And it's like, what he's doing is being radically and ruthlessly authentic. That's him. You can't do him. You're going to get further from success if you just try to copy everyone. It doesn't mean don't be inspired by people. You know, be inspired by everyone. That's what people like you and I do. We're here to say, hey, look, we've built our businesses. We've built this lifestyle. Please let us teach you the path we took and let us inspire you and hold your hand and guide you. But don't copy me to a T.
Yeah, right on.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a difference between copying and modeling. Right. And copying is like, I'm going to be just like you, but modeling, it's good, I think, to model somebody, at least in your beginning days of whatever it is that you're doing, or even if you level up to this new area in life or business, you can find a new person to model. Like, oh, they've done this before. I'm going to study them. I'm going to see how they got through these struggles and past these things. And you know what? Because they probably figured some stuff out. And even more so, they probably made some mistakes that I could avoid by just looking at where they fell.
1000%. And that's why so many people get a business coach or a mentor or a life coach, because I need someone to model that for me. Show me the path you took. Let me maybe follow your daily ritual until I find my own. Let me hear about your gratitude practice. Let me see what, you do, how you run your schedule. Yeah. Let me model that. But then once you get capable after modeling someone who's inspired you, that you have a mutual agreement with, then you find what works for you based on your experience with that. Because what works for you and I might not work long term for someone else, but it might just be, that fertile ground for growth that they needed, just be put on a path. So I see benefits to modeling. Absolutely.
I love it. You do a lot of talk as I follow you. I see your content. Same thing, right? You're in front of my face all the time. I love it. And you do a lot of, we're talking about being authentic and showing up that way all the time, 100% of the time. You talk so much about that. Oh my gosh. And I absolutely love it because the way that you come across is so empowering when you speak this way. And it lifts me up when I see you pop up on my feed. Was there a time, because I'm guessing anyways, that there might have been a time to where you wouldn't show up as your authentic self? And it might have
How long do we have, Rick? Oh my God. I didn't even know who I was to show up authentically.
Yeah.
I was living for society's approval. I was looking for the approval of my producers, the networks. When I used to be on Sirius XM, the fans, I never really was in my own power, which is why I talk about it so much now. And it is so important that I can give other women specifically energetic permission to be fearless, to show up as who you are, because that's our superpower. We might have similar beliefs and, we might have similar mindsets and perspectives, but no one can deliver the message the way any one of us can. No one has the exact same medicine to serve humanity that we do. It might be similar to other people's, but it's this certain dose that's just so perfect. And if we don't start spilling it, sharing it, then it's almost lost. Dr. Wayne Dyer said, don't die with your music inside of you.
Whoa.
And that hit me like a ton of bricks, because I was like, you know what? I do have music inside of me. Not that I can sing, but it's a metaphor, I have something very special inside me. I have this experience with being inauthentic. I have this experience with not being in my power, with outsourcing all my power, with being a people pleaser. And I have found the way out of that. I have to share that with people. In my opinion, that's the purpose of life. Find your pain points and then transmute that into purpose. You can show others the path, whether that's success or getting out of, an abusive relationship, for example, or overeating, whatever it is. We all have something we've overcome. And the purpose is to show someone else how to overcome it. And I'm just so glad that I figured it out sooner than later.
Yeah.
Because it was pretty miserable when I was super inauthentic.
Is this the time period? Because your bio, I read a little bit as we jumped into this, right? Using your own despair and hopelessness. Is that around the same time period?
Yeah. So I started working in the entertainment industry pretty early. And I started working for SiriusXM specifically around 2006. And I did that for about 12, 13 years. And I just kept performing. I never showed up as Andrea. I showed up as a caricature of Andrea, the one I thought that everyone wanted me to be. My co-host would be like, oh yeah, that's great. Do more of that. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to do more of that. My producer's like, oh, do more of that. Okay, I'm going to do more of that. And it was just an act. I was literally performing. So when we first started talking, we were talking about, showing up and talking. And I would say, I would talk for 3 hours a day, and then I would just shut down. When you're performing, it's exhausting and you have to hermit afterward and cocoon and regenerate. You and I know that when you're in flow and you're in purpose and you're having inspired conversations, you hang up that phone, you put that mic down, and you can go run a mile. You're like, I am so jazzed up on life. So that was one of the things too that I realized. I am not doing what I should do. I'm not using my God-given talents and abilities and passions in the right arena. Clearly, I love being on camera. I love talking. I love teaching. I love a microphone. but I'm talking about the most stupid things on earth on this morning show. We're talking about butt implants and,
all the stuff that really matters in life, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And I had already gone through my spiritual awakening the last 5 years of this. And I'm just that's when I felt that despair and that hopelessness, because I wasn't being honest with myself about why I was staying in that job. I told myself, I'm laughing all the way to the bank. I know that this is not a vibrational match to who I am or what my purpose is or where I reside, vibrationally. But I'm just gonna take him to the bank is what I would tell myself. But then I'd go home every day absolutely exhausted and absolutely miserable. And I couldn't understand why all my other friends were so happy and why I had it all on paper. I had the house, the car, everything, the VIP. And I just was miserable. And my coping mechanisms were not good. Excessive drinking, partying, shopping. I mean, anything that I could try to fill this spiritual size hole.
Oh yeah.
But I kept filling it with material and alcohol and anything that wasn't that substance. I had a God substance deficiency and I was trying to fill it with stuff. And that was making me even more miserable. And so that's the hopelessness and the despair, because I remember sitting alone on my couch night after night and I didn't have the humility or the courage to ask for help or admit that I was struggling internally. And finally I had to wake up and say, you're lying to yourself.
Yeah.
You're the problem. It's not the show you're on. It's not the this, it's the that. It's the fact that you're telling yourself this narrative because you have some low key financial fear, or this fear that you're not going to be able to find a job that's that easy. You're just talking to a mic for 3 hours. And that kept me there. It kept me trapped. And we know fear is a liar.
Yeah, it is.
So I had to get honest with myself. And I had to say, you know what? That's BS. My higher power, who I choose to call source or God or the universe, didn't bring me this far to bring me this far. This is not it. So that's when I decided, you know what? I'm going to change everything. And, the show ended. I started working on dedicating my life to coaching and mentoring people, and the rest is history. I'm so happy now. And that hopelessness that I felt, it's not an exaggeration. I literally felt that there was no way out because I was relying on my thinking to solve a spiritual problem. So of course it's hopeless, because what's between my ears will never solve a spiritual problem. And I just couldn't figure it out with, my intellect. And it was mental anguish, actually. Yeah. So that's my story, Rick.
Wow. Thanks for diving so deep into that too. Cause I think it was just yesterday I was reading an article on, I think it was BuzzFeed. It was, 27 celebrities that walked away from acting, and here's their net worth today. And I'm taking a look through this, and there were some individuals, I can't remember all of them, but Gene Hackman was one, right? I remember him because I remember seeing him as a kid, right? Because he was Lex Luthor in Superman with Christopher Reeves, in the first Superman movies. And he walked away from acting in mid 90s or late 90s, something like that. And then he became an author, and he's been writing for 20, 25 years now. I mean, his net worth skyrocketed, but you see that's okay, there's a success story, right? A dude pivoted, if you could call it that. But then I'm seeing these others who are in these big movies, and now you see it's their net worth is $500,000, right? And they're a lawyer now, or they're a vet. They're a veterinary doctor. I can't remember. That was one I remember. It's oh my gosh, that dude. I can't remember the name of it, but it was somebody that everybody would know. I wish I could remember these names.
Really? You're a vet now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's that person's net worth was $300,000. And it's let's be real, right? Most homes in America cost more than those numbers that I just put out there, right?
Yes.
So a $300,000 or a $500,000 net worth, I mean, it sounds like a lot when you see it, if you saw it all in cash, right? Or sitting in your bank accounts. But really, it's not a lot, because most people's net worth are that already. Because even $1 million is not a lot anymore. But if you own a house, even if you have a mortgage or whatever, especially after the last couple of years, you're probably worth at least a couple $100,000. in equity. It's very possible. But for me to look through this, and that was the point, right? Because it's BuzzFeed. They're looking for good headlines. And it caught me. It sucked me in. I was guilty of it too. But then I see like them going from making all these millions to having a net worth as a vet, of like 300K. But I looked at that photo and I'm like, I bet she's happy. And I was so inspired by this article at seeing all these individuals that had the courage to walk away from something that was not serving them.
That's right.
That would cause them to go into a lot of unhealthy coping. And it's like, awesome, good for you. And it has me checking myself. It's like, okay, what am I doing that I'm not supposed to be doing right now? Is there anything that I'm trying to cope with right now just because I feel like I might have these expectations on me of other people, of other things, of situations, and so far I haven't come up with anything, which is good, right? It's pretty much,
woo, hallelujah.
I know, right? That's good. But then it's like, okay, but is there some areas to where I could maybe shift some things and leverage my time better? And that's been a focus I've had over the last couple of months.
For sure. All of us.
Yeah. Not changing what I'm doing because I feel energetically aligned, but still, if you're inspiring me today. And I saw that. I think it's meant to be that we talked about that. Right. And then I saw the article yesterday. So yes, that's awesome. Way to go for walking away from SiriusXM and going into what you really want, because I bet you get so much fulfillment from seeing the individuals grow that you coach.
Oh my God, Rick, the vibrational contrast of when I would go to set every day and, I'd get full hair and makeup because we would simulcast on TV. And, even though I felt beautiful, I looked beautiful, I had the wardrobe and this and that, I was not good. It was like I was this contracted, lower consciousness version of myself. And then when I would go help people, even if it was just like helping a friend on the phone, it was so expansive and it was so joyous. And I'm like, oh my God, is this what joy and inner peace feels like? Is this what purpose feels like? And I'm so glad that I had that contrast, because I could know the difference of like, this is draining me and it's not worth the energetic currency exchange. Yeah. It's not, because I don't care how much you're paying me. Like, if you're going to suck me dry and suck out my soul essence, make me walk on eggshells. I remember toward the end of my career on radio, I would have to like bite my tongue not to say things that mattered. Oh, yeah. It was painful. Yep. Like, I'm like, oh my God, keep it stupid, keep it like, it was so painful. But when I would serve people, when I would show up and serve, when I would help someone, when I would open their eye to a blind spot about where they were putting their own energetic currency or their own attention on, or why they weren't manifesting the life of their dreams, or why they had horrible relationships, or a core wound from their youth or their young adulthood, like, distorting their perspectives now, that joy. Like I said, that energy it would give you, where I'm like, oh my God, should I go work out right now? Like, I am jacked. I'm wired to feel. That was exactly what I needed. And it was so, so beautiful to experience. And I always remember that, because I get offered stuff, still in the entertainment industry, and I just politely decline. It's not like what you and I do, where we show up and we know we're going to be surrounded by people on the same mission as we are. Yeah, yeah. We all have different purposes, but we know we're all in alignment. Yep. Like, we might have different perspectives on a few things, but we know that we're being of service for the most part. Sure. We've gotten good at being selective too, and there's I wish I had started being more selective earlier. Yeah. Yeah. With individuals. We didn't know what we didn't know. Exactly. Yeah. And that's okay. I mean, you start to feel those cringe moments when you're around, when you're around people. It's like, there's something up with you. I don't know what it is, but I don't want to be around you. When they're just putting off a very different frequency than you, a very different vibration. And that's something that you can feel. So everyone who's listening, pay attention to that. If you feel off, it's probably because there's something is off. Oh my gosh. So I remember when I first started, kind of going out on my own, I'd quit entertainment. I'm trying to do the whole spiritual thing. I'm getting in with different, pockets of networks and people. And I was still a little bit insecure, right? And maybe I have some imposter syndrome. Can I do this? Like, can I really just go full out into coaching and mentorship and self-mastery and manifestation? I remember connecting with this one gentleman, and he kept saying all the right things as far as like business partnership, but something in my stomach, like the pit of my stomach was like, ugh, ugh. And I'd never actually felt that before. And I remember thinking in that moment, just ignore that. You're so smart. If something weird is up, you can just, intellectually circumnavigate his weird stuff. And no, I should not have ignored that nudge from within my solar plexus saying, run for the hills. This guy's a creep. And truth be told, it was not a good relationship. It was not advantageous. It turned into a completely distorted thing. And I use that as an example because now I know what that feels like. Yeah. And now I know that if I don't listen to that, I will get burned. I wasted so much of my own personal time, lots of my energy on trying to make